Cricut Explore 5 review. If you have been around here for a while, you may have seen my first video, basically, which was a review of this as well. I'll put a picture here and I'll link at the top too. Yeah, I really regretted buying this. I did no research on it. So the whole story is that I had my Cricut Explore 4, which is right up there on the shelf. I have loved it for the little over 2 years that I had it. The adapter for slot A broke, and when I replaced it, it just wasn't scoring in the right place anymore, and it was never like the same amount of being off. Like I saw some videos saying that you could figure out exactly it's 5 clicks to the right and 2 clicks down, but it never was in the same spot. It just always was not in the right spot, basically. I contacted Cricut support, I tried everything, and I couldn't get it to fix. So I got my maker out. It was the very first maker ever, and it worked, but I couldn't believe how slow it was. So the big thing about the 4 was that it's really fast, and I knew that it was faster, and I loved that, but I had no idea how slow the older machines were to begin with. So I couldn't deal with how slow it was. So I ran to Michael's and I just bought this 5, thinking all the Explorers are pretty much the same. What could be that different about it? That was a lesson learned. Never just buy something without doing any research, especially something that costs a couple $100s. So I have the machine, and I did find one thing about it that I do love. It doesn't quite outweigh the thing that I hate, but let's just get started with the thing that I hate. So we'll hear first, to open it, you just open it that way, which is really simple. So most of my files, and even the things that I make for my goods shop, which is Hooray Paper Goods on Etsy, I ship things that I have made with my SVG files. And so I went to make something while I was trying to finish my order because my maker was too slow. So I got my scoring stylus out, which I always use, and I always put it in the slot A. This doesn't have an A or B. It doesn't say anything, but I still thought, oh, it goes in there. And I'm like, why isn't it holding it? And then I remembered, well, there was a thing with all of the tools that you get with the machine that kind of looks like a scoring stylus, which is this. And so it just has, just the tip on it. And so I thought, okay, well then that goes there. And it doesn't go there. And then it dawned on me that you have to switch out these tools. They go in the same slot, which if you don't do any projects that have score tools or that have scores and cuts, then you might not realize that it's really a headache to switch the two things out. It's like the middle, it'll score, and then it'll stop and prompt you to switch it out and then hit go again. And it's just a lot, especially if you're cutting a lot of different things or a lot of the same thing like over and over again to remember. And I have so many times cut because I left this in and it cut it where it was supposed to score. And I know you might be thinking, well, you just leave the tool right there so you see it and you think about it, and you always look at design space to see what tool is it saying, make sure it's the same, and I do that. But when you get in the groove, like, things just get overlooked. And the other thing is that, so the score tool it's flat on the top, so it can, you can set it right there. But there's no flat area, so it just like rolls away, and they're like, where did it go? And I kind of wish, at least there was like some place in here that you could set it. So this one doesn't even have that like little pen holder thing that all of the other machines have always had, which would be perfect for, setting these in there. But I have heard that they're changing this fine point blade to be in a casing like this one, so now you have to like pull this out and change it. So the new one it'll just be like this, the blade's in there, so you don't have to like cut your fingers, or I use tweezers, but and it is more user friendly, but it is a lot more waste, like all this plastic that you're throwing away, and I'm sure it'll cost more money than just these tiny little blades that you can get buy in bulk on Amazon. They're not the Cricut brand, but they work really well and they're really affordable, and now you're gonna have to probably buy them like this, but it is more user friendly. I get why they did it, but anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. So the thing that I found that I do actually love about this Cricut 5 is that this scorer tool, So I don't know if you can see on camera. I will try to show you without my face. So it's a little bit pointier, like it's sharper almost. And so the scoring, the job that this does scoring is so good. It's what I've always wanted this to do. And you know, if you have the Maker, then there's the scoring wheel, and it's just not that, it's a little bit better than this, but it's still not quite as good. This is amazing. It scores so well. So in my goods shop, I have a DIY kit of paper houses that like I'll cut and score, and then I ship them out flat like that, and then the user folds them and glues them and assembles them. So having a great score on them it's kind of worth it to have this machine, even though I hate that it does that. Another weird thing that is kind of frustrating about switching these out is that on my Maker, when you have a certain tool in clamp A, like if you had your scoring wheel and you had your blade in it, it always like tests it and then tells you you have the wrong tool in. But the Explorer doesn't do that. And I feel like if you're going to change it so that I'm having to swap these out all the time, then at least tell us like, hey, you have the wrong tool before it just cuts instead of scores, or vice versa. So I don't know, but maybe that technology is really expensive and they didn't want to increase the price, but at least give us that, you know? I'm hoping that Cricut is listening to all of us complain about this, and that the 6 will be so much better, hopefully. Okay, so talking about the tools, so I mentioned, you know, this tool came with it. So all of the models before, you could buy just the machine, and then there was always the option to buy like the add-on kit, and I never did because I don't need any of that stuff. But this model, there were no options to buy just the machine. You had to buy the add-on kit. So it came with all these different tools. This thing I do use a lot. I bought this version at the Dollar Tree. It was only $1.25. I don't know that they sell these things anymore. They did have like generic brand Cricut tools for a while, and I use this a lot. And I don't actually cut vinyl, but I use it to like poke little holes out of paper, like when I have little teeny cuts. It's really nice. So I don't really need this. This thing, do you guys use this thing? I used to use it when I first started cricketing 12 years ago, and I would use it to get things off the mat, and then I realized that was totally wrong. So now I have no idea what this is for. Does anybody know? What do you use it for? Let me know. I'm curious. So, but anyways, I won't use it. And then they give you this tiny little scraper, which I still have the same one that came with my very first Cricut 11.5 years ago, but I won't use it because I like the big one. So that's a waste. And, and it came with this card making thing. Honestly, I have no idea how this works. I have no interest in it. Maybe I should figure it out, but I don't want it. But I had to buy it, and that's frustrating. I was excited. I still would have rather paid $50 less for this and then just bought it separately. But this little paper cutting tool here. So I've had this Fiskars cutter for, well, actually it was my husband's. I don't know how long he's had it, a long time. And it cuts terribly. Like it has like really like jagged edges. And I have tried, I ordered this like replacement blades, but it still cut terribly. So I've been looking for probably a couple years now, like those huge paper cutters with the big thing, because yes, you can cut things on your Cricut, but sometimes you just need like one cut and you don't want to have to like set it all up on your machine. So it is nice to have that. But I didn't know where I'd put this huge paper cutting machine. I was kind of nervous to have it in the house because I have kids. But this thing cuts so smoothly. I love it. And I was wondering about it, but then I didn't want to buy it, and then it'd be just like the other one. Because Fiskars scissors, I love them. They're great. But that one just isn't. But this is great. I do recommend it. But I'm nervous that now all Cricut machines are going to come with these, and then how many am I going to have? You know, like that irritates me. And then, you know, also they send you like all the samples of the different materials, which is great if you've never owned a Cricut before, but I still have all of the sample materials that came with one of my first ones, but the same thing, I didn't have an option. They just sent it. I've never used them. So please sell just the machine again, Cricut. I would be so happy. So one other weird thing, so there's a couple other like weird things that I think are worth mentioning. A lot of the reviews that I watched, people were upset about, so this is closed, but yet this is still completely open. And see, there's my, oh, that's not even the blade, that's still the scoring stylus. I knocked it over and it's rolling around. But a lot of people are saying that they don't like that this is open because dust can get in there or pet hair, and that I never considered. I use mine often enough that I don't really worry about dust, but if you are just, you know, every so often crafter, that could be really annoying. I don't know why they made it like that. I was just thinking of traveling, if you ever take it with you anywhere. If this is open, so like things could get in there and like break something off, it's not very safe and contained. So, but I don't travel with it either. So this doesn't really bother me, but I think it's worth noting because I could see where it would bother certain people. Somebody did say that this fits perfectly on top, which, I mean, I guess it does. It covers the opening, so you could just set it like that, but I don't know. One of the other weird things, I think I mentioned this in my first video too, is that there's no on and off button. And I think that they're thinking like, well, your inkjet printer is always on. It's always plugged in and on. But those go to sleep and you can just hit print on your computer and it prints. But this, it's like you have to like set everything up. So like, why, like what's an on and off button? Like that's not a pain to have to turn it on and off, you know? So I always worry about like the vampire energy, you know, they say like unplug things that you're not using all the time. And so I just unplug it at the end of the day when I'm not using it and then replug it in, which is annoying. I wish I could just hit the button, but it's not that big of a deal. One thing that I do really love about this is that there's no load button anymore. You used to in the other machines put your mat in and then hit load, and then it would measure your mat, and then the go button would flash and then you'd hit it. And now you just hit the go button, it measures it, and then it just cuts automatically. Just one less time hitting a button, and there's so many times that I like put something in, like something that takes a while to cut. I'll put it in and I'll hit it, but like I didn't hit it all the way, you know, and I like walk away and then I come back, you know, to like do laundry or run an errand or clean the kitchen. And then you come back and you're like, why did nothing cut? And you're like, dang it, you know? So I do really like that feature. One thing that I noticed that I don't know if this is a big deal or not, but so when it cuts out a piece, it used to always cut out the inside details, and then the last step it would cut out the outside of the piece. And I always thought that that was great because when you have like when the paper is on the mat, that's more surface area that's sticking to the mat, especially if you have an older one that's kind of losing its stick. So, but this one now, it cuts the outside first and then it cuts the inside. I just feel like it makes the chance of it like losing its grip on the mat better. I haven't actually had that happen, so I could be completely wrong about this, but it is a weird thing that this model has changed cutting the outline first and the inside when it's always done the other way before. So maybe there is something that Cricut realized and it is better to do it that way, but I don't know, just something I noticed that I thought I would mention. Another kind of strange thing with this one is that when you have your material set to cut it twice, like a heavier paper, you would have it changed to 2 times cut. So always before it would cut a shape and then it would cut it again and then it would move to the next shape, cut it again, move to the other one. But now it cuts everything once and then it goes back and cuts it again, which I think probably takes more time, probably not that much more time, but that's one thing. And then the other thing is it seems to be like 0.0001% off. So not a ton, but it's like the cut just isn't quite as nice as the 4 did. So it's something with noting. I don't know that it really is a big deal, but I just thought I would share that. And if anybody knows anything more about that, please share in the comments. I would love to know why it does that and if it is better, because it doesn't seem to be, but maybe it is. One weird thing that I did notice is, so I was doing a project that it was basically like paper houses and then they had liners that went inside. So the liners didn't have any score lines. So I ran those on the 4 and then I did the outside on my 5. And then when I assembled them, put them together, the liner was a little bit taller than it usually is. Like when I cut all of the pieces on either machine, the way that they fit together, they didn't fit that way anymore. And so I don't know if the 4 elongates things or the 5 shortens things. I don't know, but that is one thing worth noting if you do a lot of like running several machines at the same time. Maybe keep the same project on the same machine. I could go through with my ruler and see what happened, but I don't really care that much. So just something to note. So there's also this little opening here is really big, and I like that. It's bigger than the other ones, but everything's like rolls around, you know, like you put this in here and like, I don't know, it rolls around and stuff. And there are inserts that you can buy, or like 3D printing files if you have a 3D printer to like put something in there, but I don't know. I don't really use it. I'd rather, and you know, because when you're cutting something, you can't get at it. That's what I liked about the cup holder thing being here. So it is a little bit smaller in width than before because it doesn't have that cup holder, but I really like the cup holder and I want it back, even if it makes it a little bit wider. And I think a lot of people do, but again, it's not a huge deal. It's just something worth noting that I didn't think about and that I do miss. I've started using this little cup. So my husband 3D printed this and I use it to put in some of my paper houses because like the tea lights sometimes don't get enough light. So this kind of like filters the light up. But it's like the perfect size because most pencil holders are like kind of wide and thick, and this is kind of perfect. So it's kind of ugly. But I don't know. If I find something cuter somewhere, I'll buy it. But for now, I'm just using that. So that's my full review on the Cricut Explore 5. Hopefully it was informative to you and gave you some insight into how the machine works. Do I still regret it? I don't know. I do kind of wish I would have just bought another Cricut Explore 4, but I do really like the scoring ability of this one. So I'm hoping that Cricut will watch all of our review videos and take into account our feelings. And maybe the next Explore 6 or the Maker 5 will have the scoring ability of this, but the fast cutting pace of the 4, and the 4 also having the scoring and the cutting in different compartments. It'd be really awesome if there was a third one. You could put a pen, a score tool, and your fine point blade. Wouldn't that be awesome? I would love that. But for now, I'm just going to keep this because I've already bought it. I don't make a ton of money with my shops, so it is a big purchase, and I'll just keep using it and stay hopeful that a better machine is coming with all of those combined things. So I did, when I was really mad after I got off the message with Cricut support, I did put a Caesar Romeo in my shopping cart. I even had my credit card in hand, and then I was like, whoa, okay, you need to like calm down and do a little bit of research. And I'd seen somewhere once that Caesar is better with the print and cut, like it's more accurate, but I don't do a lot of print and cut, and it's quite a bit more expensive than the Cricut, so I just decided I didn't really need to go that way. I considered Silhouette for a second, but I don't like that you have to pay for these upgraded designer series software. It's like a monthly thing just to use SVG files. You can use DXF files, but they just aren't quite as good as SVG. And does it really cost them something monthly for us to upload SVGs? I just feel like that's kind of not cool, you know? So that was ruled out. So I just went back to Cricut, even though I was mad at them. I still love it. I think that it's a really good machine. So you can't go wrong with either one, and hopefully a better one is coming our way soon. And if not, either of them will work just perfectly. If you have different opinions than me, or if you've noticed things that I haven't mentioned, let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat about it, and maybe there's things I'm missing. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you make something really awesome with your machine today.